Just turning thermostat back.
Oh my God.
Oils that were cheaper, I think.
You gotta buy more salt, you can't afford diesel.
Yeah, I know.
Cool, to make the meetings go faster.
Yeah.
Right. Let's walk faster.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm cool. Let's get this over
Let's
with.
go.
All right, I call the meeting to order today, Monday, February 7th, 2020, 5 p.m. Roll call is Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Eric Eaton, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, Town Manager Jesse Dunbar, and Town Clerk Katie Jandaran. Adoption of the agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to change? Next, we have the approval of minutes. We have the minutes from January 18th and the minutes from January 20th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 18th, 2022.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of January 18th, 2022. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 20th, 2022.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from January 20th, 2022. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, approval of warrants. We have warrant 72 for $10,485.75, 73 for $2,902.50, 74 for $10,929.41, 75 for $3,539.92, 76 for $115,436.11, 77 for $13,957.58, and warrant 78 for $27,711.72.
Make a motion for warrant 72 through 78.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve warrant 72 through 78. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, now we have committee appointments. We have the Comprehensive Plan Task Force. We have one seat. Jessica, because there's too many Jessicas here. Okay, Jessica Bass. Jessica Bass is on the Comprehensive Plan Task Force as a rec board member, and Jessica Stewart is on the board for a school board member, and you would like to no longer be on there?
My understanding is the rec board was dissolved.
Yes.
And so Jessica and I talked, and she's done a lot of work, so I thought I could resign and she could maybe we could, and then we handled this at our last school board meeting.
Yep.
She could be the appointee for the school.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jessica.
Just, can I get some, so have I been on that committee and doing the work when I'm not even a member since
I don't know.
October?
That's a Jessie question.
Because I've been showing up to every meeting and I've asked for clarification since October and I haven't received it.
Yes, we've been waiting to find out whether or not Jessica Stewart wanted to resign and whether you could have her seat. She
Yes.
finally called me the other day when I emailed. I hadn't been notified until the other day that she did in fact want to resign. So we were waiting for that. We only had an email from you stating she wanted to resign.
I had sent Brett an email, but somehow it never
I know.
made
It just, I
Right.
through the proper channel. So
think it went through the proper channels. I just don't think communication was there.
yeah.
I make a motion to accept Jessica Stewart's resignation from the Comprehensive Plan Task Force effective immediately.
Do we have that in writing though?
Yep.
I know. Okay. All right. Okay.
Email,
Okay.
Jesse, fine.
And nobody else on the school board is interested in that spot?
The school board we already voted.
You already won.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Sorry. I'll be quiet.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept Jessica Stewart's resignation from the Comprehensive Plan Task Force effective immediately. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right.
I make a motion to appoint Jessica Bass to the Comprehensive Plan Task Force expiring June 30th, 2023.
Second.
As of as a member of the
School board,
school board.
yeah, as a
Okay.
member of the school
Yep.
board.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Jessica Bass to a seat on the Comprehensive Plan Task Force, expiring June 30th, 2023, as a member representing the school committee. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. All right, now we have regular business. We have the FY23 budget prep. We have school budget. Let Andrea or whoever, or my mother, want to.
I'm happy to let your mother take a look.
Yeah.
Wants to lead it. So hopefully, I don't know if he'll make it or not, but Mike Sabore has like 3 back-to-back meetings tonight, as does, well, Nancy has several as well. So hopefully he'll make his way here, no promises. But if he does, I was looking forward to being able to just introduce him to all of you or have him introduce himself. And for what it's worth, I'll just say I'm super impressed with his leadership right now. I know he's stepped up and taken things on, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job. So I wish he was here so that he could be introduced to all of you. I always like to start by just thanking all of you, for you folks for meeting with us tonight and being willing to have a thoughtful discussion about this. To our school board, who is just a bunch of rock stars right now, by the way. I need you to know, like, Tremont rarely has a school board that in the past has had everybody show up. They're at every AOS meeting, like the entire group of them. They're so committed, and I honestly think we have the strongest board right now that any of the schools have. So it's really pretty amazing, and there's a lot that's moving forward. For example, some of our own planning and taking a look at the space needs that we have at our school right now, that we've needed to move forward, but just now is happening because of the individuals that are on that committee. So a huge thank you. And also to Nancy, who is the light of my life. Just makes all of our lives so much easier, and I'm not sure that we do enough to make hers easier. So thank you, Nancy. So to start with, you have 2 documents, hopefully. One of them is our newly revised within like the last just 2 hours budget. And then I also like to provide you just with what's supposed to be a 1-page document, but it's really a 1-page and a little bit on the back document, that hopefully just makes this a little bit easier to digest and doesn't have it all broken down line by individual line, but hopefully highlights what some of the key points are in this overall budget. So just to start with, if you want to take a look at the front page of the actual budget itself, the things that are important to note here, the carry forward that we have right now looks like a hefty figure. It's just under 500,000. We're going to be setting aside 250 of that to move forward. It's important to note that there was a decent amount from this year's budget that will be moving forward, and a lot of that is related to COVID. Like, we had extra teachers, extra staff in there that we didn't end up hiring this year, but we didn't know what we were going to need heading into this year, so a lot of stuff that was put in there was kind of precautionary, and thankfully we didn't end up needing it, but that money will roll forward to help us offset some of the things that you're seeing in terms of additional items and whatnot in just a little bit. State subsidy right now, Nancy can always speak a little bit more to that, but we're looking at 340,000, but that is just a preliminary figure. Nancy has said that it's likely that we could see more than that, which is very helpful, but we don't want to overestimate. We don't want to be overly excited about that number, and so we've kept it at the 340 for right now. When you look at this budget, for any of you that are new or unfamiliar with this budget, what you're going to see first is kind of a turn the page budget. So if we went from this school year to next without any additional items, just like salary changes, benefit changes, those kinds of things, you'll see figures that say without additional items, and then you'll see with additional items. And it's important to just note the difference there, that the turn the page budget is without any additional items. The additional items are always listed on the very last page, and those are priorities that we think are necessary, but are also things that they're not folded into the budget yet. Those figures are not folded into the budget, so we're presenting you with what it would look like if we don't put those additional items in our budget, and what it will look like if we do put those additional items in our budget. And so that's a lot of what this one-page document shows you, is what it will look like if we do and if we don't at the top. Alright, so why don't we dive into that, I guess, that one-page document, and if you want to, you can also take a look at the very last page of the budget. They kind of go hand in hand. Nancy, if there's anything that you feel like I'm jumping too quickly to, or I'm missing, let me know. So, to start with, our overall budget increase, working off from just this one-page document, the overall budget increase without any additional items, year to year, just turn the page, would be $112,866, which is a 3.15% increase. You look like you're looking for something, Nancy, and I just want to make sure.
Yeah, because I didn't get the right one.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
grab one. So
Sorry.
I said, Lord, why?
When Nancy starts looking around, it makes my heart go.
Hopefully I copied the right one. Yeah,
Oh, you're
I
looking at
did.
the wrong budget? Did you get one of these?
Yes, I
Do you want
didn't
one of
grab
these?
this one.
Okay, alright.
Made everybody else a copy but me.
The increase to the town appropriation without additional items would be a negative $209,022, which is a negative 6.96%, which I feel pretty good about. Like, without just the year to year, you would see that there would be a decrease like that. The proposed total budget without any additional items would be $3,699,978, which is a 3.15% increase. If you look just to the other side of that in gray, is overall increases with the additional items. The additional items that we're talking about are listed out on the back of this one-page document, but they're also listed out on the back page, the final page of the budget. And this breaking them out was something that our former superintendent wanted us to do, and so I do think it's helpful in terms of seeing what the additions are, but it just is really important for you to note that those aren't rolled into the line items yet. But the overall totals do include that with the additional items. So the overall budget increase with these additional items, we're looking at for next year, our special education, not just referrals, but our caseloads in particular, kindergarten through 4th grade right now, are really intense. Like, our numbers are way up. We are short-staffed in that department, there is no doubt, and I'm frequently in ed tech or support staff going in to help support students that have some really challenging behaviors, and we have a serious need to be able to, we had this in the budget last year, we weren't able to fill the position. I think a lot of that has to do with COVID, and special education is a really tricky job, but we have a significant need based on, which is driven by student need, it's driven by documents and plans that we're legally bound to, but we have a need for an additional person. We could keep bringing on support staff, but when you do that, you're limiting what they're able to do. Support staff can't write IEPs, they can't write plans, they can't facilitate meetings, they can't oversee other staff. So what we would get from a special ed teacher, we would probably need 2 support staff, and then you're looking at the cost would be even greater if you were to bring in 2 support staff as opposed to a special education teacher who can just take on more in that role. So it does make more sense to do a special ed teacher instead of continuing to bring in support staff. This year, COVID pushed us to hire a school-based nurse in September. The nurse that we had gracefully stepped away. I was the school nurse for about 3 months, and so we have a wonderful school nurse over there right now, Stephanie Victor, who's lovely, but we struggled to fill the position through the hospital. They were gracious, they were wonderful, they worked with us, but we could not fill the position to get a candidate in there. So we switched, we have moved to have them on what is essentially a teaching contract, and we were able to hire a wonderful school-based nurse. But along with that means that we then were paying, we needed to pay them their salary and benefits. So you will see that while there isn't anything right there, it's moved into the line item for health services. And the overall difference really is a slight uptick in salary, but the majority of it is the benefits that would come along with this position of that increase. And that's about $20,000 for the benefits. Our phone system, Mr. Eaton, your wife can talk to you about that. Our phone system is, from my understanding, is one of the oldest in the district. If it rains a lot, it doesn't work, and we really need a phone system that we can use just for safety reasons. So we're looking to update the phone system this year. Both our walk-ins, our freezer, and our refrigerator also need to be replaced. Our freezer, we are working on replacing this year, so it will come out of this year's budget to try to keep costs down for next year. But also, like, we can't wait for that to die, so we have to replace it now. We were looking at some flooring for the music room. That is the least of our worries right now, so we're taking that. We're not doing anything with that right now. We do have 2 paving projects that, again, please understand that some of these items, the paving projects in particular, we've been putting off because we don't want to make any changes that are significant, knowing that our goal would be within a few years to maybe try to expand the building, and that could mean that then you have to rip something up that you just replaced. We've been trying to avoid that, but we're at a point now where, like, we're having injuries on the playground. We need to be able to make these changes, especially on the playground, for safety reasons. But we're also at a point where the whole foundation of it needs to be ripped up and redone. We need to resurface everything and just totally start from scratch on both of those. There's a large divot that is in front of the bus garage, so every time they bring the buses in and out, they drive through this huge divot. So we're really feeling like we've put this off for probably 3 or 4 years now, and I just don't think that we can continue to do that. The space planning is a committee that's meeting to look at, we started meeting monthly-ish for the most part this year, and what we're trying to do is figure out what our needs are in the building, what do we have currently in the layout, and just the facility and the grounds of the school, and what are the possibilities for expansion, so that we can better meet the needs of our students. Our school wasn't built for what we do now in it. And we do have fewer students than that school originally held, but we also have very different needs, and the services that are offered now in schools were not there at the time, and our schools are not, we're not alone. There's a lot of different building projects around the state, and these buildings that are built in like the 50s and 60s just are not set up to meet the needs of students right now. So there's a $60,000 placeholder in there for a concept design. Is that correct? Did I get the term correct? For concept design, which we were talking about a few minutes ago, is that like we would be able to then meet with architects. Roger, jump in if I'm getting this wrong. We would be able to meet with an agency or an organization to help us kind of take a look at what it is that we have, think about what we want, and then they would essentially draw up a concept for us. It is not a plan. It is not a finalized project. It would be kind of the first step towards moving further. So that is a lot, but that is what that costs. And we went with the high end of that also. When they tell us it could be 30 to 60,000. And so that 60,000 is the high end of what they told us. But we're not talking about like 5 or 10,000 for that. It is a hefty price tag. And then we're also asking to consider increasing some of our specialist educators to just increase their percentages so that a few more of them can be full-time in the building. With the addition of pre-K, we would like to be able to help service some of the pre-K students by providing specials. The way that we do school now also, we operate in an intervention model which allows us to determine the needs of individual students and then respond to those in an individual and targeted way. And this would allow us to be able to have more hands on deck. Also trying to plan a schedule for a kindergarten through or pre-K through 8th grade school now, where we're also working with another school to have to accommodate some of our teachers possibly going over to help support the pre-K. We have some specialists right now who aren't there on certain days of the week, and we are locked in. Our schedule is just incredibly inflexible because of those constantly moving parts. So we're asking to increase our art teacher to full-time, which it actually just puts her in the building one additional day. Our language teacher would be increasing her by 10%, which is half a day. And then our librarian does not currently work with 5th through 8th graders. We're asking to increase her by a half a day as well, so she would be there instead of 2.5 days a week, she would be there 3 days a week, which is an increase of 10%, and that will allow her to build time into her schedule to work with 5th through 8th graders as well. And then we're asking for a chimney repair, which is that was a late bid that came in of $22,000. So those are our additional items this year. They are plenty. The total, going back again to the first page of this document, or you can continue to look at this, it doesn't matter. But the overall budget increase with the additional items is $401,241, which is an 11.19% increase with the additional items. The increase to the town appropriation, however, because of our carry forward and because of our state subsidy, is, I'm going to say only, but I say that lightly, is $79,353, which is actually only a 2.64% increase to the town appropriation. And then the proposed total budget with the additional items would be $3,988,353. Again, that's 11.19% increase. But the actual portion that is the appropriation of the town is the 2.64%. So I'm happy to go through this in more detail any way that you would like. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to hide under the table and let Nancy take all the questions. But I want to just make sure that if you have any questions, that I've been clear on things. I'm starting to get winded because I've never talked this much. I'm happy to answer any questions.
The only thing I had concerns with, and you mentioned it, was the paving the playground. Obviously, if you're going to start cutting into, we don't know where things are going. The only way I can ever envision the school being expanded would be towards that black property anyway, because I think you go out back, you're going to, there's only so much room. But is there a way to keep it so the pavement would stay from, just the back section? Because I'd hate to have to, I know it could be 3 or 4 years, but if you redo a whole base and everything else and then tear it up, it's too bad. That's all to do it.
I totally agree with you, which is why we have continued to avoid doing it. We've done sections of it to try to limit having to do all of it. We've done smaller portions of it. We are having a conversation actually trying to figure out what are some alternatives so that maybe we don't repave all of it. I am personally in favor of if there can be more green space as opposed to more pavement, that would be awesome. Okay. So I'm working with Bob to try to figure out in terms of like emergency vehicles being able to have access and plowing for around the building, what would we need to be there? Yep. So my hope is that we could avoid having to rip all of that up, but I'm not sure that that's the case right now. Yep. So. But please hear me say that is also a concern that the school board has talked about on multiple occasions. Is we don't want to be redundant and we don't want to waste funds.
And I'll ask Roger this one. Is that pretty typical to have concept drawings before? I'm always, I have a total different mindset on when I'm building something. I want to, I know what I want. I know what I need. You need 4 more classrooms, 2 more bathrooms. You need this, that, and the other. Have an architect draw it up, and then we're ready to roll. And,
so we talked about this a little bit, and I think Carla expanded on it. Carla Haskell, she was one of the architects that came to talk to us, and what her sort of initial takeaway was that you kind of have to figure out what you have available for space, for land, for classrooms, for building, the integrity of the buildings, and then you know, so part of that planning study is figuring out what's available, you know, what do we have for land, what do we have for buildings, and then the other big part of that is, you know, what do you need, what spaces do you need, and Jandria has done a great job with thinking about that and engaging the teachers and students about what kind of space needs, you know, getting rid of that cafetorium, gymatorium. So I think that is a pretty standard approach, is to kind of do a lot of that initial planning before you get into,
Yeah.
you know, what you really want to
Yep.
do. And certainly a lot of the findings from that initial, you know, baseline survey, if you will, are going to inform what that concept plan might be.
Yeah.
And if I could just add on to that, on top of that, with that concept, it's also selling it to the general public as well. So they're going to be able to help us facilitate and have really defined dimensions and everything else that we need about the place that we're going to when we do have these public engagement sessions.
Thank you for adding that, Jessica.
And if I could add too, I know that with the high school trustees project that we're doing, the library and science wing, we found an architect that was willing to roll those costs into the billing for the architecture. So,
Yeah, that would be
for the architect.
good,
So,
yeah.
you know, we'll be keeping that in mind as we
Yep.
search for the right person to do the work.
What's the timeline on the concept design? Because if you're going to pave, it's probably going to be in the summer, so it'd be nice to have the concept design done so you knew that you were going to go in a certain direction, you know, but it's kind of a pretty tight timeline that's not going to happen, so.
It is certainly, because if I may,
Oh, please.
we would of course need to have that money appropriated before we went out to bid for, to put out an RFP for what we're looking for, and then once we get the RFP, get the bids, and then, you know, that 60,000 would, or 30 or whatever it would be coming in, you know, based on the bids, would get awarded to somebody. Ideally, it would happen, you know, over the summertime, get some of that initial planning done and see, you know, what's available in the building. And then from there, I mean, I don't know, concept plans, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be 2 years or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I certainly think in terms of like making changes to the actual structure of the building, we're talking a few years.
Yeah.
Before that can happen, and I don't know that, I don't know that the kids can take a lot more of the pavement falling apart, but, yeah, the other tricky thing is just that like, our budget passes usually in May, it passes, but we don't have access to any of those funds until July 1st. So we can't start doing any of these
Can't
things
start
until after we
spending.
switch to the next fiscal year, in July.
Then kids are already back at school, and then it's all over again. Yeah.
Yes, it is,
Yep.
sometimes it feels like, yeah, a little bit of, it's tricky.
And with the paving, have we tried to look at incorporating it with any of the town paving just to save money on that?
We did actually have that conversation, Jesse and I met recently, and that was one of the things that we talked about, was that the town was gonna be doing some paving, so, we have like, you know, I'm sure very similar procedure to you guys, where we have to put certain things out to bid, but it would be great to be able to then figure out like, okay, well, if we have some commonalities in who is giving us a bid, being able to try to propose to them, you know, what if we had to do all of this, how would you help us out if we're helping you out?
Yeah.
I will say that I had no experience with who we just had do some of our paving, and they did a really good job. They did a phenomenal job, and that's who's doing out here as well, Jesse. Or yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that is certainly the hope, is that in any ways that we can, you know, even with some of these building projects, we try to work through a gentleman named Eric Hahn, who was hired as an operations manager recently in the district, to kind of figure out, are there some, again, commonalities in projects that are taking place across the district in the schools, so that we might be able to, well, same sort of situation, like if you work with the same company, we still have to go through that whole bid process, but maybe there's benefit to that, just knowing what's going on in other buildings and who they're working with, there might be the ability to save some money that way too.
Is it pretty certain that you're going to be expanding out instead of up?
No, I think that's
Okay,
the
'cause
thing, is that like, there are certain parts of the building where I'm certain if we went up, that it's gonna sink right into the ground. But no, that's part of this whole process, is trying to figure out if we went up. Right now, above our building is all of the heat system, all of the vents, all, like, so it could be complicated to go up. It's gonna be complicated, I think, no matter what we do in some ways. But so our committee also has, Carrie's on our committee, Jessica Bass is on our committee, Roger's on our committee, Jamie is on our committee. Who else do we have on our committee? Keith Higgins is on there. Is there anybody else?
We wanted staff, but I don't think we got any staff yet.
But I think Jesse and I talked about also that there probably will come a point in time when it would make sense to bring him into the conversation, to bring in Eric on or even Bob. And so I think that the committee may evolve a little bit. I'm freezing, so I apologize. Hold on a second. But I think that there will be different times when we're going to need and want different people to come to the table to help us with this project. So.
Well, one of the reasons I was asking about going up is I've been hearing quite a while that the roof on the school's not that good.
We just redid it not that long ago, so it
Okay.
better be good.
I guess it was the structure of the roof we're hearing about more than the actual shingles. I
It
know
wasn't good
Keith
for
mentioned
solar,
that.
I know we talked about that.
Yeah, that's when, I think that's when the
Projects.
conversation really kind of came into that.
At the last meeting, they'd mentioned just about going up, and it just seems like there's a lot more regulations, a lot more.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
for like,
Yeah.
I know elevators, but it was more than that. I know Keith knew was some, there was fire, there's a lot more safety stuff.
Okay.
It sounds like cost effective wise is probably to go out in a direction, so.
Yeah, I just think in energy
Yeah.
efficiency too. It seems like it's,
that, Keith messaged me recently, and I don't wanna speak on his behalf, but one of the things that he mentioned to me recently too is that it may make sense to kind of look at, we did an addition in a project 20 or so years ago, and so, is there any validity or, reason to look at maybe using a similar plan, but going in a different direction? Maybe you wouldn't have to go through as much of a process if you sort of already have a plan that's laid out. And
yeah.
I even the last person had any idea how easy that is, but I will find out, just like I did with the septic. How it works. So, so I think that we have a good team at the table. We've tried to be really thoughtful just about who we invited and getting people on board early. So it's a lot more to come, I think.
And we're really lucky to have Roger chairing the committee, who has knowledge and contacts. He brought a couple of architects to the table, our architects, engineers, brought them to our last meeting to answer questions for us and give some guidance. So that's invaluable to have those connections.
And you mentioned, or actually you mentioned Keith had discussed that previous expansion. Sam Copeland was involved. He was the landscape architect that did that, and he was one of the people that attended. So he's got all that data, and that we have access to.
Good.
That last one.
So it seems like a good year to have additional stuff to pay for. Seems how last year we saved so much money.
Well, there were a lot of things you couldn't do because of COVID too, so
Yeah.
that's another thing why you have so much money in the carryover that came forward even for this year. You know, there was so many things, hardly anything happened last year, so,
Yeah, things have really halted
yeah.
the last few years. So.
And even with everything added in, you're talking 79,000, which is on the, for us, for the town.
Yeah.
What's what would be the normal increase? I see, year to year turn the page, but like over the past 5 years, what's an average increase of?
I know, I don't think
I
I
could
have
certainly get that information
Yeah.
for you, or I could, I don't know.
What we've done before, Eric, is I've always thought of per 100,000. So like say your house, an average house is 250,000. What would that increase someone's taxes? And that's that's kind of a guideline we've used before. That gives you an idea how much it affects your tax bill.
That's what that $15 and, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
So it's, yes,
Sorry.
$15.60 for 100,000 on the front page.
Okay.
It's not the 5694 that's on the back page.
No, that's the additional
That's a scary one.
items,
Yeah.
Actually, because if you were just turning the page, your taxes would go down by 4102.
Thanks for pointing that out, Nancy.
But
That sounds
what,
better.
So the
One-
oh yeah, okay. So an increase is 1560 per 100,000
yeah,
is what it will affect the taxpayers. So
yeah.
on 200,000 is $30.
We settled our contract negotiations this year, so this includes, you know, the
Teacher
increase to teacher salaries and whatnot as well. Is folded into that.
I saw all that information somewhere and now I'm lost.
There is
here.
still a negotiated agreements line in there because we have settled the teachers, but the support staff and admin is still not finalized. So there is still on that, under regular instruction is where we put it in. There is that second line down, it's negotiated agreements, that's still set aside for staff increases. And also, we're buying a bus next year, so that kind of artificially inflates your budget. It costs $100,000 per bus now, roughly.
Is that one going to be electric too, or not?
No, the
No.
electric one's $350.
Wow.
The last bus we bought was about 80,000, and we put away money every year in the reserves, which also, that's another thing to just take a look at, is both of these documents, we have for reserves, which are really very healthy reserves. Our special ed reserve, our maintenance reserve, and then our bus reserve, which we're about to dip into. I don't know what I was supposed to say. Look at those, I guess.
Well, we're
Because
almost
we are-
there on the bus.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, we'll be buying a bus this coming school year. We're due to purchase another bus. And, we were looking at an electric bus, but some of the funding that was available is depleted, it's no longer available, so the last bus we purchased cost about 80,000. They've already increased in the last 5 years by about 20,000 to just purchase a regular bus. And while we'd love to look at an electric bus, they are to the tune of $350,000, and they
Yeah.
have like the charging station too. So, yeah, I'd love to entertain that idea. It's just like we would really need some financial help
Yeah.
to get there. So.
There's supposedly some more financial help coming down the road, but we don't know. So we kind of have to put in the regular one, and then we're on the front page. You'll see the transfers from reserve is 80,000. So basically, it nets out to 20 grand, which is what we usually put in the reserve every year. So that's kind of a wash in one way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the high school, that was 350,000, but they ended up, they got part of the Volkswagen settlement, so they ended up in that particular funding, and they paid 80,000 plus the charging station for electric
Really?
bus.
Nice.
That's what they.
So, yeah,
Wow.
it's quite a difference.
They don't call us to ask us like how we're doing with our budget before they release these funds.
Yeah.
When they're gonna be available doesn't necessarily coincide when we have the money. So that's our proposed budget. The school board has not, they don't approve anything until we've properly voted. We have another meeting coming up, actually, what day is today? This Thursday. We have a meeting on Thursday afternoon, and this will be on that agenda as well, so.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Can I just make a comment on the staffing? I just want to say, Andrea made a point of calling us rock stars, and if there's a positive term to the pot calling the kettle black, Andrea has been phenomenal over the last 2 years with the work that she's done during COVID to take over for whether it's the school nurse. She was teaching math or science at one point for a while because we didn't have a teacher. She was probably both. She has been subbing in for special ed teachers. I mean, she has been phenomenal, and we were really pleased to be able to make this change in the school nurse situation so that we could give her relief. That was a lot of work. All the contact tracing she was doing, all of the just day-to-day nursing stuff that she was doing, filling in when the hospital wasn't providing subs for us. And so, I mean, we're so lucky to have her, and I just want to recognize that.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm just gonna just toot the teachers' horn for a second because they've been amazing. And February, March usually is like a little bit of you know, the wheels are coming off the wagon. But they are in it to win it over there right now, and they are so brilliant. We have Katrina Linscott, who was just recognized through the state of Maine for her work as a French educator, but also she has published and illustrated her own French children's book because there are none that are available, so she was recognized across the state for that. We have Ashley McCaslin, who I don't know if I think she's okay with me telling you this. She was just nominated as the Hancock County Teacher of the Year as one of them. She was nominated by a local individual. And then we also have Tanya Prentice, who is our new middle school science teacher, who's just exceptional. And she's just been asked to speak on a national panel regarding rural science education. So your teachers are they're just outstanding. They are some of the, maybe I should be careful saying these things, but the majority of them hold, higher level degrees to a higher percentage than you find in other locations. They truly are exceptional individuals.
And a lot of that goes back to leadership, so I'm gonna keep throwing it back.
That's all. That's a lot of men.
You guys have any more questions?
So with quick math, it looks like the budget you're proposing is gonna raise taxes on a $250,000 valuation, $39.
I'm sorry, Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah. Looks like a good budget to me.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
And that's what,
It's
yeah,
not
It's a
fun.
hard time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
and that's with a lot of extras you're figuring over for,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
for a lot of it,
Yeah.
and that's, you're better to be over than you are, coming back for more or not getting the project done.
Right. And we
That's-
don't, of course, know what the Blue Cross rates are gonna be, you never know.
Yeah.
I just got an email today and they said, we will send you an email on March 25th, so you know, and that's only gonna be the maximum.
Mhm.
So we'll know by then what the maximum rate is gonna be, but we won't know until just into April what the real rate is gonna be based on our experience and everything. So we do always put 10% in there just to make sure, and I mean, we have been lucky the last few years. We've had some zero rates and, some low ones, but I don't know how long that's gonna hold out. So,
We're also accessing, our ESSER funds that we received, our COVID funds we're accessing to be able to hire on a full-time social worker. This whole COVID thing has just done a number on a lot of people. And so there's a tremendous need, and our school board's talked about it for years, but there's a tremendous need for us to have somebody who can not just support students, but also support families. That falls to myself and the teachers at this point right now, which we're happy to do, but that's not what I'm trained to do. I'm not a social worker. So there is a real need for that. The funds will cover the remainder of this year and next year. That will give us some time to kind of assess that position, and if we feel like it is a full-time position to continue, or we'll have some time to sort that out. But we're trying to. That is not a position that's in here, although it's in need. We're trying to utilize those funds in a different way so that doesn't get added up into this.
I guess I got lost on the what you just asked, Kevin. Increase per 100,000, but the town's increase is 80,079. Am I missing something? So wouldn't it
I
be
just
less
did
than
some math
15?
on the.
Wouldn't it be less than
on-
$15?
No, it's
No, that's
1560
$1560 per 100,000.
Yeah, of increase.
I don't know which page you're on, Eric. It looks like it might be the same one. That bottom bright corner,
I see that.
1560.
Yep.
That's
per
based on 100,000. So
Yeah,
multiply that by 2.5.
Because it's per 100,000 valuation of your property,
Oh, okay.
so.
Yeah. So the
Just trying to
total-
use an average number of 250. Just
I
for-
gotcha.
that's all that is.
the town's appropriation would be the $3,083, and that would be with all the additions, right?
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that's right. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Okay.
We will have a board meeting on Thursday night, so any of you are welcome. I'm sure there will be more budget
Thank you.
I genuinely appreciate the relationship that we're able to maintain with the town, so anything we can do to help answer your questions and continue to have your support, we're happy to do.
Deadline for when you need the budget finalized.
March 7th. That's when we're gonna do the.
So when you're finalizing your budget.
They're having budget meetings every Monday in March. So,
Right, so our next meeting after that would be March 10th,
March 7th.
because February's 28 days, so.
Warrant has to be done by March 7th.
Oh, okay. So they, to finalize it, so then Nancy can get the warrant articles done.
Yes.
Get them to
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
Okay. So basically,
So if we don't get it done this week,
month
we're
from
gonna
now?
have to.
you're gonna have to have another
Like a
meeting.
special meeting.
Yeah.
Just do a special meeting.
I mean, it doesn't take me long to do the articles, cause I just update and everything, but,
The dollar figures.
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you guys think?
I guess I'll go for it. Yeah.
I motion to request the town manager to include, is it 79,353? Is that the number?
Just the,
Full figure.
yeah.
Down at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay,
The appropriation.
let's try again. I motion to request the town manager to include $3,988,353. Is that the right number?
No, right over on page.
Yeah, this
right
one.
over, yeah,
This
right.
one.
That one.
Well, our total budget's the 3.9.
I got you.
Yeah.
Someone else try it.
The town needs to.
Mackenzie, you got it all lined up.
Well, no, I don't know. So it's the
It takes a while to figure it out, Eric.
3,083,493? That's what we're, okay.
Yes.
Go, Eric.
Nope, it's on you.
Yeah, that's what he's done.
Okay. I will request the town manager to include $3,083,493 as the Tremont School Fund appropriation in the fiscal year 23 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to request the town manager to include $3,083,493 as a Tremont School Fund appropriation in the fiscal year 23 budget. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
You guys are awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna move faster, I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, my feet are cold. No, I'm not even joking. Like, I need some of those, I need boat warmers. Like, my feet are cold down there. They got wet coming in, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's icy back here. Alright, yeah.
Too many numbers for me tonight.
Yeah, so
Overload, right?
Yeah, I'm overloaded.
Alright, next we have the Sustainability Committee bylaws. Jesse, I'm gonna let you go for that. I know we had to change up what was, what the committee had to consist of.
Right, so at your last meeting, you asked me to amend them to remove the Climate Thrive staff board member.
Yep.
And increase the general public from 3 to 4. So the draft of the bylaws, I have done that. You also will see, I forgot to mention it a couple meetings back, but you'll see occasionally here and there when we update a policy, you'll see Tremont Board of Selectmen updated to Tremont Select Board. The state passed a law in July that eliminates selectmen from being an allowed use.
Yep.
So
It's all because of you, Mackenzie.
are all select board members.
Okay.
Select board.
Yep.
So that's the reason that's changed on this one.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna do them on a case by case.
Yeah.
We have
We did it for you, Nancy.
So that was the extent of the amendments, the bylaws.
So should it be a one select person chosen by the select board?
What's it say? Selectmen?
Selectmen.
Yeah.
I know, sad, huh?
So can we just write as amended on our motion?
Here, I'll do it. Make a motion to adopt and sign the February 7th, 2022 version of the Sustainability Committee bylaws as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt and sign the February 7th, 2022 version of the Sustainability Committee bylaws as amended. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, and then next we need to fill, or change a seat, I should say, right? Correct?
So, Lawson Wilson was serving in the seat for the Climate to Thrive staff member. So I don't know, he's still been attending, so I don't know if he
Yeah, I believe he wants to stay on.
wants
It's
to
just
continue serving.
he's
Just
no
change.
longer a staff member, and he wants to stay on the committee.
Yep.
So we just changed his designation.
Okay, yep.
I make a motion to appoint Lawson Wilson to an open at-large seat on the Sustainability Committee with the term expiring June 30th, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Lawson Wilson to the open at-large seat on the Sustainability Committee with a term expiring June 30th, 2023. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, if we don't get the heat figured out by next meeting, we're gonna have a salamander in the back corner just blowing hot air. We just turn it on every once in a while. Have a quick timeout and let it warm up in here.
At least behind the desk here.
Yeah, I know. It is colder back here, I swear it is.
Heater. Isn't that a
Yeah,
heater?
there is an electric heater in there?
I don't know, it's like this
Yeah.
big, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure.
All right, next we have the Weatherize MDI. Request from A Climate to Thrive on the Weatherize MDI campaign. I
I'll
think
do
this-
that if you want.
Okay.
Basically, Climate to Thrive's got a Weatherize campaign. A lot of it's funded by Efficiency Maine, and we're trying to get people to insulate their houses or get them airtight or whatever. A lot of that's funded by Efficiency Maine.
Yeah.
A lot, especially on the lower income people. It's one of those campaigns that usually a 15% success rate is really good, and it's just trying to get people to understand this isn't some kind of door-to-door scam thing. So it's just nice if we can get the Board of Selectmen to say yes, we're behind this too. It gives it a little more credibility. It's just the statement that's in there that the Climate to Thrive is asking the board to do. I believe Mount Desert's done that. I think Bar Harbor has. It's just a line of support that this is a real program.
Okay. So it's nothing that ties us into, it's just saying that we approve
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why people shouldn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, Climate to Thrive's getting no financial benefits out of it. It's just the program that we're trying to do to make people more efficient and comfortable in their homes.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of the Efficiency Main ones that have been out for the solar and for the heat pumps and stuff have been huge.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people taking advantage of that.
Yeah, it's the same kind of program. It's just for
Yep.
weatherizing the houses. And the weatherizing's a hard sell because it's so disruptive in the house.
Yep.
If you're going to insulate the walls in a place where you're already living, it's tough. And it's just getting people to sign on for it is a hard sell. So it's just, again, if you can, make it clear that it's, a realistic program, it always helps. And that's all the request is for. And that's the letter that would be sent out. Not to Tremont residents anyway.
I'll make a motion to authorize A Climate to Thrive to include the select board's encouragement in their Weatherize MDI campaign letter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize A Climate to Thrive to include the select board's encouragement in their Weatherize MDI campaign letter. Is there any discussion? I'm just trying to think of the wording, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm just thinking of the wording, just to be sure that it doesn't act like the select board's pushing this on someone, but I know what you're after. I just, I guess I get it. All right, is there any more discussion? All those in favor? All right, next we have the community building surveillance system.
Okay, so, the surveillance system, as I said in my memo at the community building, the town had installed, and we currently pay $97 a month for the internet to support that camera system. I couldn't locate in the files anywhere the access point to it. It's not on the same access as this security system here or the harbors. I reached out to Jandria and the tech integrator at the school to see if the system was still in place, still functioning. It appears to be. The company that installed it and hosted it has since gone out of business, so we don't have access to view the cameras. The school doesn't have access to view the cameras. So I talked to Jandria again about if it does get reinstalled, about joining the school's Wi-Fi to save the taxpayers the expense of paying for our own Wi-Fi, since it's in the building already. It doesn't look like there'd be an issue with that. So I wanted to bring it to you to see if you would like to proceed with reinstating the surveillance system, getting it back up and running over there. And there's your lease with the school kind of has a $5,000 limit for what the school will pay for and what the town will pay for. It gets a little unclear as is relating to kind of capital expenses for the building. I think you could argue that it would be up to the school to pay for it, but it is something that we installed for our building that needs to be repaired. The school, I understand, only has a security system at the front entrance. So it's not like they have a whole security system that this is part of. So it is kind of a standalone system that we had implemented at some point. So it's up to you guys.
That was going to be my question: is how big a system do you have at the school? Are you looking to upgrade it? Or,
No,
yeah.
I do. I mean, we started to have a conversation about this the other day just because of some stuff that we found on the playground. But we don't. And I think that if the school were to take that on, I'm happy to work with you guys on anything. But I think if the school were to take that on, we really have to be very transparent with families about that, because as it stands now, we don't have school cameras in our school.
Yep.
And so I think that just would have to be something that we would make the community aware of and just let them know if we're calling it ours now, then I
Yep.
just want to make sure that the parents are.
Kind of brings up a couple questions to me. It's like, does anyone know how long it's been down? So,
That thing is a dinosaur.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of answers my second question. No one's missed it, right?
It sits in we have used it actually a few times when backboards have been shattered and whatnot.
Okay.
It has been used in the past, but that's been years. So
So-
it's not something that we access ever. I don't really have the ability to go in and look at a camera if the community isn't aware that I have access to cameras that just wouldn't be while it's on my part.
Yeah.
So.
It was only ever run for not school stuff. It was pick up basketball or your kid's birthday party, or those things were sort of recorded because there was vandalism over the years and stuff like that. So that's why it was put in there to see. Was it me that broke the backboard? Was it you that didn't sweep the floor? You know what I mean? That was the whole purpose. It was never meant to record the kids in gym class or eating lunch or anything like that. Do we have? I mean, I know we haven't had a lot of activity in there because of COVID, but have we had vandalism and stuff?
Mr. Tripp, you want me to?
Sure.
So I don't know if Mrs. Tripp is actually allowed to share this, but it's actually Liberty, my daughter, who found a hunting knife on the playground, which is kind of prompting a little bit more. And I think where we're looking at the comprehensive plan, trying to figure out what recreational programs would work best, I think would just only add to our statistics and knowing what our community is using, what they're not using, and how we can better aid that, but also still keep all that extra use from the school building, because it is used to educate children as opposed to a recreational space.
So there are no cameras out on the playground or anything like that. There's just a camera at the front door.
Yeah, we have a camera that's at the front door, which conveniently Susan can't use her computer and have the camera up at the same time, so being that so, no, I mean, I think this is a whole bigger conversation. I'm not somebody who's an advocate for pushing surveillance systems and whatnot. I think there are benefits. We have found a few things on our playground this year that have been concerning. I don't think that maybe I'm naive. I don't want to think that they belong to students. I truly don't think they do. But, anywho, I think that is another conversation for another time. But, yeah, we don't have cameras really anymore.
In the community building, once again, that's a much larger can of worms as far as having the discussion over who pays for what and what pays. That's been going on for generations. So that's
Sounds like it's working fine to me the way it is.
yeah.
I mean, how much does the security system cost compared to a backboard? I don't know. You know, how many backboards
I
do
mean,
you
the
break?
one here was around 3,700. The one at the wharf was 3,900.
So it's not a huge expense, but yeah, it doesn't seem that it's needed.
It seems though that'd be a great conversation to have when you're deciding what to do with the school.
Yeah. And also, there hasn't been as much use with COVID and everything from outside people, so maybe look at this in a year when hopefully maybe stuff is somewhat, I mean, we keep saying next year, but one of these years it's got to be back to normal a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe it's worth, I mean, I hate to wait for something to happen, but maybe that's the thing, like, everything has been good so far.
Well, access to
Whoever's coming in is respectful of the space, so.
access to the community building's a lot more control than access to the playgrounds too. You know, so.
Yeah, I think that's we have a system so that you know who's going in for the most part to, use the community building, so at least you'd have a point person to go back to if something comes up. So I don't have a major concern for it right now, and if something comes up, then we'll bring it to your attention, and if it needs to be revisited, then you folks could decide that at that point.
Sounds good to me. Yep. Let it ride for now, and you don't need a motion on it, do you, Jesse?
Nope. As long as you're fine with me canceling the internet service.
Yeah, that's great. How much is that? $97 a month.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at that.
I don't know. I'm really bad with numbers tonight. So
All right. We have next the town manager's report.
Alright, so major emphasis in the last 2 weeks has been FY23 budget prep. I have done Harbor Committee financial reports, had a GA appointment, coordinated with New Orleans for some remediation work on one of the properties affected by the landfill. Coordinating with H.G. Reed about the heat that was working and is now not working again. I did my check-in with the CEO, I attended the League of Towns meeting, met with the Southwest Harbor Chamber, Tremont Chamber regarding Oktoberfest. You're going to see that on your agenda on the 22nd. They would like to hold that event in Tremont this year. So you're going to get a special amusement liquor license request for that. I did research regarding land use planner, regarding the land use ordinance and the comp plan. The Bobcat that you authorized purchasing was delivered just before the big blizzard storm. Revised the sustainability committee bylaws, worked on parking lot permit application for the Reed lot, reviewed an easement from Versant, met with the school principal on several items, reviewed the school budget, meeting prep, reviewed the FY21 draft audit. That will be presented to you by the auditor at the meeting on the 22nd as well. Attended the Harbor Committee meeting, coordinated Board of Appeals meeting schedules for their upcoming meetings. Office staff clerk has been working on the annual report, tax acquired property bid specs, nomination paper postings, and the bookkeeper's been working on W-2, 1099, tax filing, end of year stuff, and the audit entries from the auditor. And the CEO has been busy processing applications and with planning board preparations. Public Works has been extremely busy with all the storms and road treatment and checks and pushing back snowbanks. I'd like to just shout out how we appreciate all of their work. There's been a lot of overtime in the last couple storms, and the roads have been maintained really well, especially compared to some other areas. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I would say that I've heard so many people say to really give them a pat on the back. I know we've said it before, but they're doing an awesome job this year. Like, I've had to travel, this storm I had to go to Bar Harbor, and they were by far the best roads on the island, I thought, by far, like, by a long shot, so.
yeah, no,
They're doing a great job.
doing a great job.
Yeah.
They replaced wing steel on just about all the trucks. Worked on Bobcat training when that got delivered. Maintenance on the equipment, scheduling drivers, tree removal on Kellytown Road, clearing intersections, repairing headlights on truck 3, hydraulic tank on truck 9. Harbor Master has been busy plowing and assisting Public Works with those repairs. He took David to call us pickup truck 2, met with myself and John regarding the Thurston's application before the Harbor Committee, prepared the Harbor Committee packet and attended the Harbor Committee meeting, and welded center pins on the big truck plows. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to continue FY23 budget work, attend planning board meetings regarding land use ordinance changes, and work on my annual report letters.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Suggestions for the next meeting?
Heat?
Yeah, heat. Yeah, I guess that would be. Yep, check. If not, we're gonna have it upstairs if you got heat up there. Okay, date of the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Tuesday, February 22nd, 22 at 5 p.m. at the town office.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Tuesday, February 22nd at 5 p.m. at the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, now we have an executive session. Two executive sessions. The first one is titled Versant Easement.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session as permitted by 1 MRSA 405.6.c for consideration of the acquisition or disposal of real property or rights therein, since premature disclosure of this information would prejudice the competitive or bargaining position of the town.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session under title Versant Easement as read by Mackenzie. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
You aren't getting.
Can't feel my big toes.
No, my feet are cold. That's the only thing on me that's cold right now. Is my feet. All right, we are out of executive session with the title Versant Easement. Next, we have another executive session titled Personnel Matters.
I make a motion to find that public discussion of these personnel matters may be reasonably expected to cause damage to the employee's reputation and or to violate the employee's privacy rights, and therefore to go into executive session to discuss employment, appointment, assignment, duties, promotion, demotion, compensation, evaluation, disciplining, resignation, and or dismissal of an individual or group of public officials, appointees, or employees as permitted by 1 MRSA 405.6.a.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session under Personnel Matters as read by Kevin. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Could be an interesting quiet side journal then.
Good?
So, pretty nice.
All right, I guess all we have is
We have to
adjournment.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Hey, I won't be here next meeting.
Okay.
That's alright. I'm going up north for the week.
Yeah, cool.
Going home where it's warm.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I hear ya.
Don't call us back, Jesse, until